happy Valentine's Day. So today's video, in keeping with the whole lovey-dovey theme of February Valentine's Day, I thought I would make a video sharing a few ways that you could fall back in love with your writing. Now, a lot of these things that I'm going to be talking about are specific to me, like they work for me. I've tried to include as many things as possible and cast a bit of a wider net. Some of these might not work for everybody, but I feel like there might be something in this list that could potentially work for you that maybe you haven't thought of doing before. I think a few of these might be worth trying if you're feeling especially unmotivated or just not passionate about your work anymore, if you're feeling burnt out. Definitely give a few of these a try. And if there's anything that you personally do that helps you fall back in love with your writing and get motivated again and get passionate again about it, that isn't on this list, please comment down below and let us know. I'd really love to know what you do to fall back in love with your writing. So the first thing I do when I feel like I've kind of fallen out of love with my writing or I'm feeling any kind of way is just to take a step back and kind of acknowledge and evaluate how I'm feeling, like kind of pinpoint what it is that I'm feeling. Is it a lack of passion? Is it I'm feeling burnt out? Am I feeling stuck in a certain part in my story? Am I feeling discouraged in any way? And kind of why that might be. Sometimes I think it is important to just kind of keep pushing through because, you know, it gets a little sticky sometimes in the writing process. But sometimes I think it is really good to kind of pause and take a step back and reevaluate everything. This next one is something that definitely works for me that I do a lot when I'm feeling any kind of way about my writing. It might not work for everybody, but I feel like as writers, probably a lot of us do this, and that is journaling. Now, this doesn't need to be in a journal. You don't need to be a journal person. You can use a piece of paper, you can use a Word doc, you can use your notes app on your phone, you can do it just like in a voice memo or a dictation app, whatever your method is, as long as you're kind of thinking about what you're feeling and just getting it out of your head and your body. Getting it out, whether it's writing it down or saying it out loud, helps so much. Because when it's in your head, when it's in your body, it's hard to kind of define and look at, because once it's out, you can really look at it and start breaking things down and asking yourself questions. Free writing at this point is so good. Just kind of write out everything that kind of bubbles up when you're thinking about your writing and what you're afraid of or what's kind of blocking you. Get that all out and then start thinking about why you love writing, what got you into writing in the first place, what your goals and intentions are, and what you love. If you're especially stuck on a particular story that you're writing, what is it that you love about that story? Why do you want to tell that story? Just kind of remember, go back to your why, go back to what you love about the story and what you love about writing. Whatever your why is, whatever you love about your story and about writing in general, definitely take some time thinking and meditating on that. These next two are just really fun, and I guess technically it could be seen as a form of procrastination, but I like to see it as a form of inspiration, okay? I think it can absolutely make you fall back in love with your story and your writing and just get excited again. And that is to listen to or create a sort of writing or story playlist. Add all the songs that kind of remind you of your writing, get you in the writing mood, are kind of in the same theme as your story, remind you of characters, whatever it is, add all those songs into a playlist and listen to it. I have a few songs on my writing playlist that are like, I see it as like the soundtrack to a particular scene. And so definitely while I was getting ready to write those particular scenes, I would listen to those songs over and over again. Often what I would also do to kind of get myself in the mood to start writing, if I knew I had a writing session a little bit later in the day, I would listen to my writing playlist just all throughout the day. I would listen to it all day, get myself pumped, and then go into my writing session feeling really excited and motivated. So this next one is super fun. I haven't done it in a while. I kind of did it when I first started the story, but I haven't really done it since. But I think it's a lot of fun and it can really help with kind of motivation and falling back in love with your story. And that is creating a Pinterest board. I love Pinterest. I go to Pinterest for everything. I use Pinterest almost as much as I do Google. It's so good for finding aesthetic photos to kind of go with your story. You can create boards for your story as a whole. You can create a board for writing motivation, just like inspirational quotes. You can create boards for particular characters in your story. You can even create a board for just writing craft and learning more about writing. However many boards you want to create, or as little boards as you want to create. Pinterest is definitely a great tool if you want to kind of get re-inspired again and fall back in love with writing. But don't get too carried away, you know? Maybe give yourself a time limit, like a daily time limit for how much time you can spend on Pinterest, because you can lose a lot of time on Pinterest, but you're allowed to indulge a little bit, okay? And so my next tip is to consume media that is in the same genre that you're writing or not remotely in the same genre that you're writing. Whether that's books, movies, music, art, whatever it is, if you love it, consume it. I think as writers and just artists in general, we go through seasons of consuming and creating, and you might be in a season where you need to consume more than you create. And the more that you consume, it can definitely inspire and kind of ignite passion for your own writing and your own craft. I think it's a good idea to consume media that's in the same genre that you're writing, because it can really help to see how other writers are doing it. But I think it's also really important to consume media that's in a different genre, because it might inspire you to kind of take your genre and add elements from other genres and make it unique and different. It definitely helps me. That's usually the way I go, is I like to consume stuff that is outside of the genre that I'm currently writing. But I think absorbing kind of any art, any media when you're in a consuming season is good. It's going to be super helpful. So my next tip, it kind of goes with the last one, but it's a little bit more specific. Do you have a particular book or author that got you into writing, that inspired you to be a writer? If you do, go back and read that book or that author. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton will always be that book for me. This is the book, and if you've followed me at all for any length of time, you might know that this is my favorite book. This is the book that got me into writing when I was a kid. I read it in grade school and was like, this is what I want to do. So I highly recommend going back and revisiting that book or that author. Consume it, get re-inspired. This next one I also do a lot. I love this so much, and it really helps with falling back in love with your own writing in particular. I even have a series on my channel that I started about this. Go back and read your favorite piece of writing that you have written in your lifetime at any point. Whether it be an old fan fiction that you wrote when you were a kid, or a particular scene or chapter in the current story that you're writing, a short story or something that you wrote for school, for class, go back and reread it. It doesn't even need to be good. It doesn't need to be good writing. It just needs to be a piece that you remember absolutely loving while you were writing it. Reread it, go back and try to remember how you felt while you were writing it. Like when I go back and read my old fan fiction, I'm taken back to how much I loved writing those stories, like just how passionate I was about those stories. I love going back and reading my old writing, especially if it's really bad, because that's when I had the best time. So I highly recommend going back and reading your old writing, anything that you wrote that you were just in love with at the time. You gotta go back to your roots. You did it for the love of it, and it was so good. The next thing you can do, and this is very on theme with Valentine's Day, is you can take yourself out on a writing date. Take yourself out to a bookstore, a cafe, a little library, and do your writing there. Be surrounded by books, drink and eat your favorite treats. Really just kind of romanticize your writing session. But if you don't want to go out, you can make it a kind of romantic day in, really Netflix and chill your writing session. Make yourself a meal that you love, or order in your favorite takeout that you haven't had in a while. Light candles, take a bath, do some self-care stuff, some maintenance, and then just come into your writing session with some gratitude and appreciation. This next one is something that I haven't really done, but it's something that I want to try the next time I'm kind of feeling like I'm not really in love with my writing. And that is to try some writing exercises. Write a poem or a piece of flash fiction or something that's just kind of entirely different from what you're currently writing and what you usually write. You can make it about something that you love or something that you're thinking about, or even about the struggle of writing, or you can there's so many writing prompts out there for random story ideas. You can use one of those. Some of them are so cool. I've read through some of them over the years. I think it'd be so much fun to just do a kind of random, no pressure story. Just write whatever. I think that'd be so cool. Next is something that I do a lot. Watch YouTube videos. I honestly get so much inspiration when I watch vlogs of people who are either kind of in the same phase of their writing as I am, or people who are a little further along and, publishing books and stuff. I get so much inspiration from watching other authortubers on here, so I think that's definitely something that can help kind of reignite your passion and get you excited for writing again. Next is to reach out to your writer friends. There's nothing like talking to another writer who has been there, who's in it, who understands. So definitely just reach out to your writer friends, talk to them about how you're feeling, tell them about your writing goals, your intentions. Support and understanding from your friends and writing community is so empowering. So this next tip is actually a goal that I have this year. I want to do this at some point throughout the year as much as possible. And that is to take a Skillshare or masterclass on writing craft. Or alternatively, if you can't afford that, which, it's expensive, it gets pricey, there's an incredible amount of free, valuable content on the internet. I think Brandon Sanderson has a whole lecture for free that you can watch on YouTube. I haven't watched it yet. I do want to watch it, but I've heard amazing things about it, and that's free. You can watch it. You can watch it on the internet for free. You can also read craft books if that's more your style. Learning about writing always inspires me to want to write. When I learn about something new, like a new writing technique or whatever, it just makes me want to write. Like learning about grammar, I don't know if that's just me, but like that gets me excited. I love it so much, and I feel like it really kind of reignites my passion for writing. It just makes me feel like writing is so cool and so interesting, and I love it so much, and I just want to do it. I want to be a part of it. So I highly recommend either taking a class or watching, you know, a YouTube video or reading a craft book, just learning about writing. The next one is kind of fun. Go through your story ideas document. If you don't have a story ideas document, start one. I personally have a little Word doc where I've written down kind of all of my story ideas, like a short little summary, or like sometimes it's just like a little nothing. It's just like a theme or like a little plot point or something. It's not even the full story. It's not fleshed out, but I put them all in one little document so that I don't forget any of them, and I can go back and read through them and see if any are kind of calling to me to write. I think it also just helps to remember, like, dang, like I have some ideas, you know, like there are things that I want to write and it could be really, really good. So if you have a story ideas document, definitely go back and revisit that. And if you don't have one, then try starting one. Just take a few minutes and write down whatever story ideas come to mind. More often than not, we have so many little plot bunnies and story ideas just swimming around in our brains that it can kind of, you know, get in the way of things. So getting them out, putting them in a document so that they're safe, you can come back to them, you won't forget them. I think it's a really good idea. And last but not least, these are in no particular order, by the way. If you're constantly thinking or speaking negatively about your writing and your skill set and your goals, you know, that you're never going to reach your goals and you're not a good writer and everything you write is trash, you're going to start believing that. And we're not here for that. Trust me, there are going to be people out there who are going to trash talk everything that you do. Every piece of art that you put out, there will be people criticizing it in the worst way. As writers, we're definitely often our own worst critic, and that can be, you know, there's some good in being able to really kind of look at your work and critique it and criticize it, but you need to be compassionate. At the end of the day, you really need to just be your own #1 fan. I'm not saying be delusional, but like be your own best friend, like be your own cheerleader. You would never say the things that you say to yourself and think to yourself about your own writing to your writer friend. Like you wouldn't. Not in the way that you're saying it to yourself, I'm sure. So yeah, I think being a little bit more compassionate and practicing a little more self-care when it comes to your mental health, especially surrounding your writing, I think that makes a huge difference. I've noticed that when I'm being especially critical about my work, it's discouraging, and it takes the passion away, you know? But when I can look through and be like, okay, you know, this isn't great, but I know I can do this better, like I can change this better, or if I find a line that I really like, I'm like, dang, that's a pretty good line. Practicing a bit more of that has definitely helped with my motivation and my passion for writing. And so yeah, that is kind of the list that I have come up with. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more things that we could do to kind of fall back in love with our writing and get re-inspired and motivated again. If I think of any more, I'll comment them down below and pin the comments so you guys can see. But again, if you have any tips or tricks for falling back in love with your writing, please comment them down below. We all need a little extra passion and love in our lives, especially when it comes to our writing. So yeah, let me know how you're doing, let me know how your writing is going, and let me know if you already do some of these, if you're gonna try some of these. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and if you got to the end of this video, comment down below, stay gold, because you are golden. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.